Welcome to Molé Mama. I'm making carne de puerco con calabacitas today. So that is a very lovely sounding way to say I'm making some pork meat with some squash, but it sounds oh so much better in Spanish. It's one of my mother's favorite recipes, hers and mine. I love this. It's really a toss-up for me between this and carnitas, but it's very similar to carnitas, kind of a combination of those both two great worlds of food. And if you're a pork lover like me, it's so hard to choose between the two. So it is a recipe that takes several hours to make, but it's so worth your investment in time. And I just want to say it's a wonderful combination between carne de puerco, so the pork meat, some calabacitas, which is squash, and a salsita that we'll make, and we'll blend it all together. I also refer to this recipe as an off-the-grid recipe, and the reason why I do that is that I've never found it in a restaurant. So if you ever get invited to have some calabacitas con carne de puerco, say yes if you're a fan of the pork meat like me, because it's absolutely delicious and you won't be disappointed. Or you can give my recipe a try. First thing that you're going to do is you're going to chop up a bunch of pork. So I used an organic pork loin from Costco, and I've chopped it up into these small little pieces. They're about that big each. And then the other thing that I did, and I'm just going to grab this for you so you can see, is it has fat, and I'm going to actually cook it with the fat. That's going to help it give some flavor. It's going to help brown it. So you'll see what I mean. It's a little bit of magic that we do with our carne de puerco. We'll take out the fat later, so you won't be eating that, but it is really, really a good way to cook the pork to get that added flavor that you want in your meat. The other thing that we're going to do later on is we'll be chopping up some summer squash and zucchini, but you can see these here. So summer squash, zucchini, but you can use whatever kind of squash that you like. These are some of my favorites, and they are organic as well. And then we're also going to be making a salsa. So we're going to make a homemade salsa that after the pork is cooked, and it's going to take a long time to cook and brown, and it'll kind of shred down to nothing. We're going to actually take and make a salsita for it that's going to have some tomatoes, serranos, jalapenos, onions, garlic, cilantro, and some lime. And we're going to simmer that with the pork for a while, probably an hour or two. And then when everything's almost done, like the last 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to throw in our squash at the very, very end. The one last thing that I did want to say about this pork is that if you are going to be cutting any kind of meat, I highly recommend getting a wonderful knife. So I'm really lucky. I have a new chef quality knife that my Molé man did a ton of research on and got me for Christmas. And I'd have to say that this pork, to cut something like this in the past would have taken me a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes with my old knives. Today it took me 15. So it really cuts down on the time. It makes it a lot easier. And I even remember my mom, though, sitting at the kitchen table for long periods of time and meticulously cutting her pork. So it was a way that we bonded. But if you want to cut out some of the time, I highly recommend a really awesome knife. And if you reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, I will be happy to share you all the specifics of this nice knife because I can't pronounce any of it, but it is amazing, life-changing. And the other thing I wanted to say is we're going to put our pork in a moment in this skillet. And you can see this is a really huge flat skillet. And the reason why I like to use a skillet like this when we're making this dish is it helps the pork to more evenly cook and also get rich and brown, and you'll see that in a few minutes when we get things going. Our pork is starting to brown. Get a nice golden brown and move it, sizzling away. It's got some fat in it, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to keep that fat, so that's going to help it brown. And it's probably already cooked all the way through, but we want it brown because that's going to add another added taste and flavor to our carne de puerco con calabacitas. Here's our carne de puerco. It's really cooked down a lot since our last video, and you can see it's getting nice golden brown. The fat's really helping it out, and that's exactly what we want. We're going to want it all this rich color brown, and that's going to give it some lovely flavor when we add in our salsita and later on our calabacita. our carne de puerco has been cooking for about an hour, and remember I told you, it's gotten golden brown. It smells amazing. You can see it's really gotten nice and golden brown, our carne de puerco. It's been cooking for about 90 minutes on high heat and medium heat. You can see it's really hot. I'm going to remove some of this excess fat that's in it, and then we'll be adding the flour so that we can kind of make this little bit of roux for our salsita that we're going to put in just a moment. Our pork is cooking, it's smelling amazing, it's getting nice and golden brown, and I've been making salsa. So I made our salsita, 8 tomatoes, half an onion, 3 jalapenos, 3 serranos, a whole head of garlic, and about a half a head of cilantro and 2 limes. And it's fresh, it's ready to go, and then we'll be pouring in our salsa with a little bit of water because this is pretty spicy, and then we're going to let it all simmer. Oh, it's smelling like carne con puerco y calabacitas in the sauce right now. Okay, I've removed the big pieces of fat that we started with, the extra fat that had cooked down, and just a tiny little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of flour, and that's so that when we add our salsita, it'll get nice and thick, so it's not super watery. We're also going to add a little bit of water because my salsa is very spicy. So we've added in the flour there. I'm going to let that get a little golden brown for a second. You don't want it to get lumpy. It's just a tiny little bit of flour. I'd probably say it was about a tablespoon. Not much at all. And again, that's for thickening when we add in our salsa. Okay, got my salsa right here. I'll add some in. And really, with your salsa, what you're going to want to do is it's really going to be up to you on how spicy you make this dish. I like my food pretty spicy, and so does most of my family and friends. So this is going to be pretty spicy. I'm going to add a little bit of water. Oh my gosh, it smells amazing. We're going to mix it all in, and we're going to let it simmer. Another hour or so. So I'm going to let this cook, and we will be back a little later. It's almost carne con puerco y calabacitas time. Yum! Look at our carne de puerco simmering with its salsita. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. It is ready for los calabacitas. It's almost dinner time. Here's our calabacitas. I use the summer squash and the zucchini, and our carne de puerco with the little salsita is all done and ready. We're going to be tasting this in 15 minutes or so. I can't wait. The carne con puerco and la salsita now has the calabacitas added to it. You can see it's all simmering together. It's almost done. I'm going to serve it tonight with some Spanish rice. We'll be eating soon. Our carne de puerco and calabacitas are all done. They cooked for hours, but oh, it was so worth it. They smell just like my mama's. Yay, yum. And I made some Spanish rice for them because that's what works with calabacitas con carne de puerco, or carne de puerco con calabacitas. Works really, really well as a side dish. And I'm going to do a little bit of rice and get a little squash, a little piece of pork. Perfect bite. Mmm. Tastes just like my mama's did. Thank you for watching Molé Mama as we made Carne de Puerco con Calabacitas, our off-the-grid recipe. Please check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube.